work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, sorry if you were watching. I'm just gonna check if this one is now working. Um, yes, we are now live on Facebook. I think it looks like we're. Do you know what? I think it was even live on the previous one. Oh, so annoying. Anyway, it's fine. We're here now. Mercury retrograde. That's what it is. I don't know what it is, but for some reason we did have a few technical difficulties. So apologies. I hope that doesn't affect anyone's ability to see us and come back to our pages and find this again, because it might not be linked
Mm-hmm.
to the original event that we posted.
Shit, that's true. Can we
Yeah,
can we
but
see
it's
the
on our
original event?
pages. Say again?
Can you see the I'm gonna go and see the original event.
Yeah. Have a look
Uh
if it's there. It's on my LinkedIn page right now.
mm-hmm.
It's on my Facebook page right now. I think the old one literally lasted 13 seconds, so maybe it actually was fixing itself while we were doing it. Anyway, we are on the pages, so
Hmm.
hopefully people will find us there because it is there.
Yeah. So if I open the event, it shows the live video should start soon,
I
which
don't
is
know
weird.
what Facebook's doing to be honest. Facebook, I'll be honest, Facebook is often quite a pickle.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, look, it's here on my Facebook page, so I'm assuming people will just click and go and see
Yeah.
it there. Yeah. Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, people. I don't know what else to do or suggest. Maybe I'll just put a quick note in and then we'll kick off. I'll put a note in the group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. We are live. We made it. It was a little bit of a pickle, but we are live on everything. So if you are watching, as always, do pop a comment in the chat so that we know that you're there at any point in the live stream. We got there. That's part of the game, dealing with things when they don't work. That's a good skill in resilience, is to keep
Mm-hmm.
going.
Yeah.
Mm. So we got about we're going to run till 12 today. So we've got about 50 minutes now. And
That's
we're going
nice.
to talk all about goal setting. New year, new goals. It's that time. Happy New
Mm-hmm.
Year, everybody, first of all. Happy New Year. And
You too.
yes, and if we've got some people watching, so if you want to comment, that would let us know. I wonder if it's me, actually, though. I'm watching, so maybe it
Well,
thinks it's
yeah,
me.
I was thinking it was me because
So
I had it
probably
on for a bit.
this is good. We're talking to each other and watching ourselves talk to each other. This is how we do. Oh, I love it. Love it. But yeah, people, if you are watching, do say hello in the comments so we can put your
Mm-hmm.
comments on screen. And as always, we're here to take questions. We're here to discuss. Where are you at? Are you trying to set new goals for the new year? Are you not interested in that sort of stuff? Are you interested in new year, new goals? Like for you, Arush, is it like, oh, 2024, let's get going? How do
I
you feel
mean,
about it?
there's definitely a new energy to it. I feel every year is, even though sometimes I don't set goals at the exact time. I just sort of set goals every 9 to 10 months or whenever
Yeah.
it's obvious that I need some freshness. But I've never been a fan of New Year resolutions even before we did the work that we did. Even as a kid, like I just sort of thought it was pointless. But the whole idea of goal setting was actually quite pointless to me. It's like, hey, you kind of know where you want to go, so why do you need to like set it in stone or something?
Mm.
Um, so that used to be my thinking, but then I realized that goal setting is a lot more than just writing something down that you want. So yeah, I think that might be the journey that we go on today is like, okay, why why is it effective? What is it? Why do you need to do it? Is
Yeah.
it more than just writing something down and hoping for the best, or is there more to it? So that's where my thinking is with this.
Love it. Yeah. I'm similar. I never really went for the whole New Year resolution most of my life. I just let it flow as it was going, or just let it go as it was going. And
Hmm.
hey, things were going well, It's not like I wasn't achieving things that I wanted to achieve. But as I was thinking about this live stream, I remembered a few years ago, again, before we did the work that we now do, I did try and set some New Year resolutions. And it was so silly. I mean, I look back now and realize how silly it was. But the kind of thing I did, which I'll tell you what I did, is what loads of people are doing. And this is why 80% of people will fail their resolutions within a couple of months. It will stop. It will. And it did for me. I followed someone's methodology.
Hmm.
And then I ended up doing daily, weekly, monthly goals in certain areas of my life. And it was like, right, daily, I'm going to drink this much water, eat this food, do a 20-minute walk. And then weekly, I'm going to do this thing for work. And monthly, I'm going to save this much money. And so I had a big thing on my wall where I'd written it all out: daily, weekly, monthly, tasks, goals. This is how I'm going to create what I want this year. And I did hardly any of it, man. And like, oh, I didn't do it today. Oh, I didn't do the next day. Oh, I didn't do the next week. And to be honest, yeah, like most people, I crashed on all of those, almost all of those, quite quickly. So I think for me, that's one of the things that people do. When I think about that, I was setting my goals from my head, thinking, what should I do? What should I do this year? I was trying to do way too much at once. That's one of the things that I was thinking about in terms of one of the reasons why people fail is because they try and change everything in their life all at once, and health and relationships and work and finances and blah 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 blah, blah. And they try and force all of them through at the same time.
Hmm.
And I think that doesn't necessarily work. When I look at my life and how it has actually changed and how I have actually achieved a lot of goals, it was much more like this year, for example, 2023 was very much focused on my personal life and lots of change and transformation there. But now 2024 feels much more business focused and work focused. So
Hmm.
that will be where I focus this time. But the problem is I didn't realize that. Like the words I always get, it's like finding your rhythm, not following rules, but finding your natural rhythm. Like you say, just because it's January, does that mean we have to set goals? Does that mean it's the right time for you to set goals? And we got a little comment. Should I do this one?
Hmm. Yeah. Mhm.
Hello. Hello, darling. Hope you're well. What do you think about New Year goals? New Year resolutions. Have you ever made any? Have you ever made any New Year resolutions before we did the work that we do and we do it differently now? Let us know, Arta, if you've ever done that. So yeah, like you're saying, like I similarly, I set my goals every few, like 9 months or so. I actually did them in
Mhm.
November. So
Mm.
January for me was just another day. Okay, sure, we've ticked over to a new year. I know I have a new focus, but I actually realized that in November. So there's something about the timing for it as well. For me, I
Mhm.
think you force yourself, well, it's January. Doesn't mean that's the right time for you,
Yeah.
Um, can I share one thing I also read? Because for me, I'm really starting to debunk the whole New Year resolution thing even more, like the more I go on my journey. Because I read
Yeah.
something the other day, which said winter is hibernation period. Think about
Mm.
nature. We hibernate in winter.
Yeah.
Everything settles down, but suddenly we humans are like, no, it's time to set new goals. It's like, isn't that more of a spring thing? Like you plant your seeds in like February and they sprout in March, April. That's springtime, growth, new birth. So why are we doing it in the dead of winter? I don't think that actually is a very good idea.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm not motivated to do anything in the winter. It's just it's a pain in the ass to get out of bed when it's cold outside.
Exactly.
So
It's
set
cold.
new
It's
goals.
miserable.
Yeah.
As you can see what Arthur said here.
Yeah.
No, I think every day is a good day to set goals. Exactly. Whenever you're ready to set a
Mhm.
goal, to make a change, to go for something, to choose something. I think that's a big important part of it is getting in tune with yourself and knowing when it's right for you to do it. So just because it's New Year, it doesn't mean that you have to do it right now. Um, and I think the problem is when you force yourself to do something because everyone else is doing it right now, you actually make things worse for yourself because you're probably going to fail at
Mhm.
it. And then you're going to feel really bad about yourself. And then you're not doing yourself any favors, right?
Mhm.
So,
But there is sort of, so my thinking is, okay, so why do people do it? Why do
yeah,
they get motivated at that time of the year? And I think there is a certain thing about completion. It's like, okay, we're done with the year, and it's this sort of reminder that you can just let everything that happened happen, and now you can
yeah,
focus on the new things. um because I've seen this happen in sports a lot. It's like you played 45 minutes of football, it didn't go well, but sometimes you find it very hard to change things right in the middle when you're playing for those 45 minutes. But then as soon as you come out of it and you get back in for another 15 minutes or so, you get the break, you can refocus, you can go at it again in the next 45 minutes, and you can change things. Similar with golf, I experienced like, okay, there's two sets of 9 holes. Played horribly in the first 9, and then for some reason the next 9 goes better because I've had uh, I even tell myself, okay, one part of it is over, let's try to the new one. So I feel like the way it's set up is like, okay, something is ending, it does kick in new energy. It does kick in
mm,
this sort of unconscious thinking of, what, it's over. So it's like the
yeah,
new year, new me kind of a thing. I think it's very, very embedded in society, in us.
yes.
It's like, okay, just let it go. Like, let what happened go.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's important. It is important to
Hmm.
be able to draw that line and to complete, absolutely. So thinking about that, what we were talking about, right, is because I'm
Hmm.
always astounded by this thing that everyone be like, "Oh, New Year, make New Year resolutions," and
Yeah.
within weeks, 80% of people have stopped. I think I read somewhere 5% of people will follow through for the whole year. 5%, there's basically almost nobody. So clearly
Yeah.
this is an issue that everyone's having. And again, I know we're talking about New Year resolutions, but this really does go beyond that, right? It's just goal setting in life generally. Whatever time you do it, there's lots of nuances to that process. There's lots of wisdom in that process. It's a very powerful thing to do, whatever time of year you do it. But I don't think people really know how to do it effectively, and that's why
Hmm.
they end up not doing it very well, and then end up don't meeting their goals. So we were talking, we took a bit of time away separately to say what are the key reasons we think 80% of people are going to fail at their resolutions. So I've got a few here. I've kind of touched on a couple already.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah.
If I was to say to you, Arush, what is the one top reason, the top reason that you think everyone is going to crash on their goals? What do you think? Or 80% of people, what do you think the top reason is?
I think it's because they don't care about what they're doing. Like,
Mm,
they just don't care. They don't. It's not what they care about. It's not what they love. It's not what they enjoy. I've seen this in the gym. Like every New Year's, I've been going to the gym. Like, I love it. I enjoy doing it. So I'm there pretty much all year. New Year's, like first 5 days, just like it's flooded. The gym is flooded. I don't like going for the first 5 days because there's just too many people there. And then literally 5 days later, on the sixth day, it's empty again. It's gone.
empty.
People have lost interest. And I honestly, like, I've never seen it go that empty that quickly. And it's just, yeah, and you see the people that come in at the time. It's people who are overweight, or they're too skinny, and they feel like they need to change something within themselves. They show up, and they don't stick. It's like, okay, I've made the efforts, now I've got to go home, and let's see if this happens again. So
Yeah,
it's just that, a lot of the times I feel like people just use New Year's as something of a temporary motivation to do something that they should be doing, that's the right thing to do for them, or what they believe is the right thing to do. But they don't really care. Like, I
yeah,
know a lot of people don't really care about going to the gym. They care about other things, like, for example, a lot of people, they think the right thing to do is to go to the gym, to work out, to run, but they love yoga and they love doing, hiking and other things. So they don't actually care about the gyms. So they show up, they try to do the right thing. They're like, not for me. They leave.
Yeah.
You know. So I
I
really think the first thing is that people don't care about what they're doing.
They don't care about what they're doing. I'm going to
Yeah.
write these tips down because we will summarize them at the end.
Hmm.
I think what I find so funny as well is this is a global phenomenon because you're in India and you're
Yeah.
experiencing that at the gym. I remember when I used to go to gym here in England a few years ago, we had the same thing. And I hated going in those first few weeks because it was packed. You couldn't get on any of the machines. It was quite a small gym as well. And also a lot of people, they won't actually cancel their membership. So the gyms are making so much money off people who are still paying in February, March, April, May, but they don't go. They stop going in like end of Jan or even the first week of Jan. And they're
Hmm.
making so much money out of us because we're all going, oh, I'm going to go to the gym now.
Yeah.
And we never actually
I've
do
I've
it.
literally just met someone a couple of months ago, and I asked them,
Good.
"Hey, so what's up? Do you go to the gym?" It's like, "Well, we do charity." I'm like, "What do you mean you do?" Yeah, we paid for a whole year. We haven't been once. I'm like, "Oh,
Charity. I
fair."
love it. Charity donation to my local gym. Like,
Yeah.
it's so bad, right? And
Hmm.
we got a comment here. It's up to
Got
you.
a
You
comment.
choose, Arush, when you want to take that. You
Yeah,
want to do that one?
yeah. I wanna read this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Arthur says, I think it's the pressure people put on them. As people want to change something in their life, it feels good to set new goals at the beginning, but moving forward in the year and facing resistance and obstacles, the motivation is falling down. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, because that's what I was talking about. It's temporary
Chew it
motivation.
out for a
You kick
minute.
yourself in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kick yourself in the ass to move forward, and then at some point the energy just goes down, and you're like, well, you know,
Yeah.
can't keep pushing myself
Yeah.
no more for
Yeah.
something that I don't care about and other
Yeah.
reasons.
Do you know what I heard the other day? I was watching a podcast,
Hmm.
Stephen Bartlett, but he actually was being interviewed on this one. And they said often what we say to people, and this I literally heard it yesterday or day before, so I'm still simmering with it, but I think it's a really powerful question. Often what we say to people is, what do you love? What do you really want to do? What would
Mm.
you love to do in any area of your life? And he said, actually, no, maybe the question is, what are you willing to go through pain for? What are you
Hmm.
willing to suffer for? Because really, the resistance is going to come, like Arthur said. You have to love it enough that you're willing to go through the pain to keep
Hmm.
going with it. And like you say, if you don't really love the gym, that's not your vibe, that's not your scene, you're not good. The slightest amount of pain, you're going to leave.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you really love it and it's coming from a real, true, authentic, empowered place from within you, then when the pain hits, which it will, you will keep going. So to help you find the things that you really love, you ask yourself, what would I suffer for? What would I
Hmm.
like? I think about my work. I've been going on this journey for years. I've been creating content for years. And it's starting to definitely move in a better direction in terms of the business and what I'm doing.
Hmm.
But there's still so much more to do. And I'm not going to stop. And it's hard. And I suffer and I fail all the time. And I'm full of insecurity and pain and struggles. And I have down moments and I can't motivate myself and blah, blah, blah. But I'm still doing it all these years later. I'm willing to suffer for this because I know what I truly want in my end goal, in my end results, and
Hmm.
what it means to me. So I think that's another way to look
Mm.
at it,
Yeah.
is what.
So, funny thing is that I was trying to make some content for Instagram,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I was coming up with was this sort of analogy of, if you truly go for something that you love, what you'll find is that you open the gates of hell. It just happens,
Mm,
You open the gates of hell and you got to go through it. And not only do
mm,
you have to go through it, you have to go all the way through it till the other end, because that's where the gates of heaven are. So you have it is natural for you to go through that journey, either physically, mentally, emotionally, or all of them. So I
yeah.
definitely think, that is a very valid question. It's like, okay, what are you willing to suffer for?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, if you ask yourself, what am I willing to suffer for? You'll probably take 90% of the nonsense off your list and then you'll really get toned down to what you
Mhm.
really want, what's really important to you. That would declutter so much. Because I think that that also links to one of the things that I was thinking about why we fail at them. Goals very much linked to what you're saying. They don't care about them. Is that a lot of people are setting other people's goals, what we call
Mhm.
extrinsic values. What is everyone else doing? What does everyone else think I should be aiming for in my life, in my career, in my health, and how I should be going about it? So we take information from outside and we go, oh, I should do that this year. I should do that this year. I should focus on that this year. I should change this year. And it's all coming from extrinsic motivation, which is weak compared to intrinsic
Mhm.
inspiration. And again, that's where it comes down to you're not going to be able to keep it going because your driving force, and again, that's also where it comes down to being so confused because there's so much noise out there. Everyone's doing all these different things and you're, oh, I should do that, I should do that, I should do that.
Mhm.
But if you come back to that simple question, you can ask either one: what do I love and what am I willing to suffer for? That will clear all this noise
Mhm.
from the world telling you to do this, that, and the other, and it will pinpoint your focus on what you can really make moves in if you find those
Yeah.
things. Um, but yeah, I think extrinsic motivation is a big problem because, like you say,
Mhm.
people don't know what you said earlier. People don't care about what they're doing. I don't think people know what they care about
Yeah.
because they don't know themselves, right? That inner
Mhm.
reflection, self awareness, connection to your truth. If you don't have it, how do you know? So you will just do, well, everyone else is going to the gym, so I'll do that too.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah. So I think there's definitely something about, are you motivated in your goals from within or are you being pushed from without? Motivation versus
Mhm.
inspiration, right? Motivation is
Yeah.
something from outside pushing. Inspiration comes from within. You're moved from within to move in the direction of whatever this goal is. And that's a very, very powerful force. And when you go from there, you're
Mm.
more likely to achieve things, right? I think, in my experience.
Yeah.
Um, but if you constantly need pushing from outside, I don't know. I don't think you're doing the right things. Is that too bold?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think you're spot on, and I really like what you said because speaking of gym, because that's like the most popular thing to set
Should put
up.
that. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, we
Yeah.
had a
So
comment from Jim, and you said Jim, so I thought, oh, you want to go to Jim's comment? No, you meant Jim,
yeah,
GYM. Jim,
yeah,
Jim JIM.
working
We'll
out.
come to you in a
Yeah.
moment whenever
So
it's ready. He'll put
it's
you
a
up.
very good question that he's put up.
He
But
has put a very
let me
good
finish
question
this.
up.
Let
Yeah,
me finish this, and then I'll get to it. So
go for it.
the whole thing between motivation and inspiration is that I've been going to the gym since 2011, and I've never been consistent because of injuries. Not because I had to push myself to go, but I just got injured a lot, and some really bad ones that kept me out for years. And if I didn't care about building myself up, I didn't enjoy doing the heavy lifting and stuff, I would have never gone back. But that there's something just keeps pushing me back there. It's like I want to go no matter how many um obstacles that I run into, how many injuries I get. It's just that I'm waiting to go there again. And I think let's put up Jim's question because it is very good, and it relates to what we've been talking about. So why do you have to suffer to achieve? Suffering is a choice. Uh yes, but pain isn't, absolutely. So it's like, yeah, it's a choice to suffer in the things that are happening. And in the sense of, things could be going really wrong, and it is a choice whether you take part in that drama, you take part in the emotional roller coaster, or you look at it from an observational point of view. But pain is just inherent. Everyone experiences it, everyone feels it, everyone goes through that. So suffering, I would say, is a long term thing where you're addicted to the pain. And pain is just something that you can experience, and let it be that, and not hold on to it to
Yeah.
lead it to suffering. And you don't have to suffer to achieve, but you will feel pain, and you will be pushed into suffering, and then it's up to you and your willpower to stay out of that.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's my
really
perspective
important.
of it.
Yeah, I love it. And thanks for asking that, Jim, because that is so important. There's a difference between pain and suffering. So I'm guessing I must have used the
Mhm.
word suffering earlier. Um, but that's a distinction that actually needs to be made. I don't mean the long-term suffering and it's just that pain. It's the pain of
Yeah.
growth. It's the pain of change. It's the discomfort when you're growing and expanding. It's a stretch. It's a coming out of your shell. It's a new territory that creates pain, but
Mhm.
that's, in my experience, part of growth. And so and part of change. And I think that actually, and I didn't have this on my list, but thanks, Jim, for bringing it up, because I think it actually is another reason why people don't stick to their choices, goals, whatever you want to call them, at any time, is because they don't like the pain. Because pain will
Mhm.
come when you change, when you grow. And I don't think we're very good at feeling pain because it hurts. And we're very comfortable, especially out here in the West and in any modern developed area that you're living in. We're comfy, right? We got everything we need. And so when something feels a bit, oh, it's like, oh, we get a bit, we don't want to feel
Mhm.
it. And I think that's why we run away so quickly as well. But can I share one thing that I learned about myself recently? Because I do it. I run away from short term pain, but what it
Mhm.
actually creates is long term suffering, because I'm not willing to take the hit of the pain right now because it hurts too much. But what it means is I won't go in the direction of what I truly want and what would help me and what would be in the highest good. And so after months, years down the line, I'm actually suffering much more because I
Mhm.
never got or created or experienced what I truly wanted in my life. So avoiding the short term pain, in my experience, creates long term suffering. And I
Mm.
think a lot of us don't want that pain because it doesn't feel good, right? So,
Mhm. Yeah. Got an interesting example. So, and relating to this topic of suffering and pain. So I was watching something from Dave Chappelle, and it was like a closed thing, and he was talking about this, uh, you know, female comedian who, who was outraged by something that another comedian had done. Like some scandal or some controversy or something, and she said that I don't feel safe anymore um, to do my art, to practice my art, to practice what I care about, and to build what I care about. And then Dave Chappelle asked this question: well, if if being offended and being hurt and experiencing pain makes you drop your dream, then was it really a dream? You
oh,
know,
say that
was it really
again. I
your
like
dream
it.
then?
Say
Yeah.
that
If
again.
pain and if pain and suffering made you drop your dream, then was it really a dream? Was it really your
Oh,
dream?
I love
Yeah.
that.
So the idea is, you know what? You might suffer, you might go through pain, but are you willing to accept that?
Yes. And it's the long view, I think, as well. Like, this is the other thing
Mhm.
Stephen Bartlett was saying. He takes and if we're looking at people who are achieving really, spectacular lives, not saying they're smashing it in every area, and not saying that everyone has to want to be like that, right?
Mhm.
But just to look at the way they live, he's planning for decades. He's setting ambitions for decades. Whereas I think we also, and I think if you've got that bigger picture, it will help you go through that process that can be quite treacherous. Whereas if you're just looking for the immediate win, the immediate quick result, the short term,
Mhm.
I think maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking it out loud really, maybe that's going to give you more chance of dropping it as well. And a dream, in my view, tends to be a much grander thing than the short term hit. If we have dreams, they
Mhm.
tend to be much bigger, rather than just, oh, I just
Mhm.
want to lose 1 inch off my waist this year. And I'm not saying don't do that, but a dream is much more than that, right? A dream is much
Mhm.
deeper, much more in our soul about what we want to live and experience in our lives and create and contribute. Um, and yeah, like you say, I was saying earlier, I've been going for my dream for many, many, many years, and I've failed and I've suffered and I've had pain, but I'm not going to stop going for it because it's the true dream. And
Mhm.
so that's the question, right? Is if you if
Mm.
you dropped it, if it got hard and you dropped it, was it really your dream? Was it really your true
Yeah.
thing that you wanted? That's a really good question.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think we should define suffering because um, suffering can imply many things, and for me, the context of suffering is the idea that you have to struggle. That there needs to be a continuous struggle to get what you want. For me, that's how I see suffering. It's like there's a continuous just pain, struggle, sort of no way out, and you having to bury yourself in that constantly to get what you want. So I use the analogy of having to go through hell. you
Mm,
know you might have to, um but for me, suffering is that you tell yourself that this is the only way, and that there's no heaven at the end. That
mm.
there's no way out of it, that hell is the only pathway to it. So what I was saying was, um go through hell and you'll find heaven, and then you'll cruise through heaven as well.
Yes.
Yeah, Jim is back with a comment, and I think this shows illustrates very well what we were talking about. Was it
Yeah.
Edison who failed to create the light bulb 99? Was it 99 times?
I
I think
think
it
it was
was like
999.
999 times. Yeah,
Yeah. Or not even more,
yeah,
maybe. I can't remember. But yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it was more. I think it was much more because from what I remember of the story, what happened was at the end of it, he was just pissed off and he had tried everything and nothing was working. So he's just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do the complete opposite of what I've been doing," and it worked.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Interesting. I like
yeah.
that. But that's it, right? How hold the
Mhm,
focus. I think another reason people fail is because if it doesn't work first time, you give up. I'm guilty of that. Because
mhm.
again, it doesn't work
Yeah.
first time. You feel pain. Oh, don't like that. Don't do it again. That's almost like really base instinct biological wiring.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like imagine a little child. Oh, I touched the hot stove. It hurt. Don't do it again. The little baby zebra drinking from this part in the pond, and then the crocodile comes. Oh, that hurt. Don't do it again. It's kind of like
Mhm.
that. So when we
Yeah.
don't get it straight away, oh, it hurts. Don't do it again. That's
Mhm.
wired into
Yeah.
us, I think. But that's
Mhm.
not going to get us to what we want. As
Yeah.
advanced humans, we're not babies, and we're not
Mhm.
little zebras drinking from the pond. Um, so it's that ability to also realize that it doesn't always work first time, and it's
Mhm.
consistency and going, like you say, holding the focus, Jim said, and going for it again and again. um, which again is something I think a lot of people are scared of. I think if you can get
Mhm.
used to failing, if you can get used to it not working, I think you'll become desensitized to that. You got to reprogram yourself
Yeah.
almost and be like, okay, light bulb number one didn't work, doesn't matter, go again. Light bulb number two didn't work, doesn't matter. I'm sure that after a while, the pain of that will be less effective on you,
Mhm.
and you just be like,
Yeah.
oh well, move on, oh well. But you got to
Mhm.
train yourself into that. But you
Mhm.
can't do that unless you do it. If you exit on the first failure,
Mhm.
then you're never going to see what you're capable of. Because I believe as well, a lot of people are capable of a lot of stuff. We just nowhere near maximize or touch our potential because of all of these things that are going on, these behaviors, these habits. Imagine what we could achieve if we were able to do the things that we're talking about.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
I think you touched on something very interesting with the whole almost like, trauma motivation. It's like, okay, don't do this. Okay, this went wrong, don't do that. That's where the focus switches, doesn't it? It's like, okay, I start a great habit, I I start to learn a new craft. I try it a few times, I really enjoy it, and then I put it out there and no one likes it. And there you go, trauma. So what happens after that, and it's very subtle because most people don't realize, is like the next time you go out and you write something and you try to, build your art, you're not focused on building the art, you're focused on avoiding rejection. You're focused
mm,
on you know hiding all the bad things about your writing in the next one rather than just actually writing what you want. So you change, very subtly you start changing the things that you want to do based on the traumas that you've had,
Right.
and that completely shifts your focus, that completely moves you away from the things that you actually care about.
Absolutely. Something you said there as well just made me think about the whole tribal mentality, and avoiding rejection. Because I wonder if that's also another reason why people don't complete and continue on their goals. Is because what if you've picked something that's going to make you different from your peers, that's going to make you
Hmm.
different from your family, from your colleagues? What if you're working in a job and you want to exit and go either go up a level somewhere, or you want to completely change industry, or or whatever it could be. Like you say, you could be working in a job and decide you want to leave that and go and pursue some creative, dream or something like that. That could ostracize you from your peers because no one else is doing that. Very few people are the outliers, right? Doing very different things. And you might get that discomfort of being judged, rejected, pushed out, not accepted by your family, by your friends, by your colleagues, whoever. And that again is another form of pain that may, based on your own instinctive wiring, cause you to not continue to pursue that goal. Because being alone, this is another thing they spoke about actually in the Stephen Bartlett interview he did. Most people who are going to create things in their lives and pursue goals that are really going to give them a wonderful life, whatever that might look like for them, it often requires being the outlier. They say there's never a crowd on the leading edge. So you're
Hmm.
going to have to step out, and you are biologically wired to not do that because that means death to you. From an animalistic perspective, coming out of the herd and the tribe and the group and the peers and whatever is death to you. So if you're not going to choose a goal that could cause death to you, even though it's not physically death, but do you know what I mean? But the people who are willing to step out and say, okay, I'm going to go alone, and I might find some other people there, but generally I'm coming out of what I've known for years and people that I've known for years. That's not easy to do. That's another source of pain that I think people will not want to go through, understandably, because it does hurt. And that is another reason why probably a lot of people will fail a number of their goals and resolutions that they may set. What do you think about that? Any thoughts?
Hmm.
I'm trying to think if I've done anything
I
like
mean,
that. Has
yeah.
anyone watching done anything like that?
I mean, I'm sure I've done stuff like that because
Yeah.
it's definitely true. That's how I ended up in Spain. I wanted to live there. The usual obvious route that my family tells me or that everyone says is, you either invest there, you get married, and then you move there. My idea was, no, I want to live there now. I want to figure out a way. So I just went there, stayed there illegally for about a year, and then figured it out. And for that period, I was very, very lonely, like alone in that journey, um, by myself, no friends, no family, no nothing. So that was definitely, a part of it, and something that, at least in my surroundings, no one had ever even considered before. Even my friends who've been living abroad, who don't have this visa issue and stuff to be in Europe. So even they were like, dude, I don't know anyone who's done that. So it
Mm,
was a very new thing for me to do, and it was definitely a long, grueling process with a lot of good times in between as well. But
mm.
it was definitely a bit of a journey through hell.
And what made you keep going on that journey? Why didn't you go back home where it was safe and everyone would be like, okay, well done, Arush, you're doing the right thing now. You're doing the safe thing
Uh,
now.
well, the one thing was I would get a travel ban for 10 years if I went back. And
Oh,
and yeah, but I was very close to just like saying it, screw it. I'll not travel for 10 years, and I'll just be home and be safe and be good. But what kept me going was there was just knowing that I didn't do the wrong thing. That this was for me, that this was my journey, that this was who I am, and I just knew that, yeah, it would work out for some
yeah,
reason.
yeah, absolutely. I think, it's interesting. I was just saying, oh, I wonder if I've done that in my life. Like I've gone against the crowd or the herd. And I'm like, and then I just suddenly realized that's my entire existence. Like I've been doing that since I came out the womb. I was like, no, not listening to you, not doing what you say. I'm doing like ever since I came out. That's literally been my whole life. And it does create a lot of pain. It does create rejection. It does create ostracization. It does create people looking at you and judging you and shaming you maybe and criticizing you. But again, it's like when your aspirations, goals, visions, whatever we want to call them, when they come from a deeper place, you are willing to go through the pain, as we're saying, in order to get that true end result. And now I am seeing a lot of those true end results in my life that are so unbelievably magical. One of them watching right now, if he's still there, I'm not sure. But I had to go through 40 years of hell almost for that, of pain. And absolutely, like we we're talking about the difference between pain and suffering, I'm sure it also created a lot of suffering on top of that. But it was painful because I'm being different. I'm choosing something that everyone else is not choosing. I'm sticking to it. I'm being rejected. I'm being shamed. I'm being punished for it. But I had to keep going because it was my truth. And I think that's one of the keys of goal setting, whether you do it now or in the summer or wherever in your life, you got to know your truth that comes from here and be willing to go through the pain, and often maybe a long-term process. You don't know when the results are going to come necessarily either, right? In order to get to that. Let me know when you want to do Jim's comment you put up, unless you something else to say.
I just noticed the comment. I haven't seen it before, so I think let's put it up. Is being different, diverse, more acceptable these days, though? I mean, personally, I think it's becoming fashionable. Definitely becoming more fashionable. But again, I do think, well, it's a very complex subject, because the thing is, I feel like people generally herd towards where the power is. So previously, it's like majority has the power, so people want to be with the majority. And the changes I'm seeing, the pendulum swing I'm seeing these days, is people are like, no, we need to care about the minorities as well, the diversities and all of these things. So the power is going there. And now everyone wants to be diverse. Everyone wants to be different. Everyone wants to, stand out from the crowd, because now that is fashionable. Now that is seen as, you're being brave and you're being powerful and you're being whatnot. So I think it's just a pendulum swing. It just comes and goes through the ages.
And I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial. Often what I'm seeing is people saying, oh, diversity, different, celebrate, as long as you don't disagree and you're different from them. So are you really allowing true diversity and differences in people? Is it really accepted? Because I feel like it's accepted with a limit. If it's these things, yes, I agree with those. They're new, different, diverse things, and we're bringing these people in, and that's fine. But if it's that, no. So to me, it's like, well, if you really want diversity and acceptance of being different, does that not include all possibilities, all potential within the oneness, like every possible manifestation of a human experience or a human thought or belief or anything? True diversity means all of that is allowed. So I think it's accepted more definitely than it used to be. I think we've got to say that's going in the right directions. It absolutely is more accepted. But I think there's some nuances to that people may not be seeing, where it's kind of in disguise. It's diverse and differences accepted in disguise, because underneath it's not always really truly accepted. So that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother human journey experience that we're going through.
This next question is very good, though.
Go for it.
The question is, so is it easier to follow your dreams then, if if you're being different and diverse and that's more accepted now, that has more power than it did before? I mean, absolutely it's easier, but it's not essential. So for example, Um, let's say you're one of the most beautiful looking people in the world. You're gonna get things easier, compared to
Mm,
someone who's not. But doesn't mean that the person who's not good looking is never gonna get anything or anywhere in life. They could, be big as well. So,
mm,
if you start your life off financially being incredibly rich, you know, makes life very easy. But if you're not, doesn't mean that you're never going to have anything ever in your life.
yeah,
There's still
yeah,
people going from being broke, poor, to being incredibly rich as well.
yeah.
So it
I think as
definitely makes
well,
it easier.
yeah. I guess I also think, what does easy mean? What do you mean easy? Like what's easy for me is really difficult for someone else. It's kind of, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm going too deep into it, but it's kind of like, what do we
Hmm.
mean by easy? And there are people, again, I keep referring to the Stephen Bartlett interview that I listened to yesterday because it was
Hmm.
brilliant, and he was talking about um he has some areas of his life where he didn't use the word easy from what I remember, but he's just much
Hmm.
more successful. He'll follow through. He'll go through the pain. He'll get great results.
Hmm.
But he has other areas of his life. One example he used is he struggles to stop eating sugar. So
Hmm.
look at him. He's like multi-millionaire businessman at a very young age, like late 20s. He's on Dragon's Den. He's got one of the fastest growing podcasts in the world, getting amazing guests, but he can't stop eating sugar. And he had to get hypnotized to help him stop eating
Hmm.
sugar. And so far that he said that had
Wow.
helped him. So but that's the thing, it's he's following his dreams and creating all these wonderful things, but there are other aspects of his life that, and maybe as part of
Yeah.
his dream is to be healthy and to, and it's not so easy for him, so I think that's the
Hmm.
other thing, like, to think about your own setting of your own goals, choices, and whatever. Each one comes with its own set of beliefs, its own baggage, its own trauma, its own past, its own concepts, and each one is a little different. And so, whilst they're all linked as well, you're going to handle different things differently. You're going to find some easier than other things. And so, I think that's another thing to remember, is that you're not necessarily going to be able to achieve everything with the same level of ease.
Hmm.
Um, some things may take all the same time, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Go for it.
so because I'm thinking there's definitely a physical aspect to the ease, but then there's also the sense of, yeah, but it's not impossible. Like for me to go to Spain, it wasn't easy, but
Mm,
I made it happen, and I could do it in a much cheaper way, much more free way of being there and living there than most people. But it would have
mm.
been easier if I just had the money. you know
Yeah, that's
the
it. Yeah, in that sense,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So many things could be made easier if those certain things were in
Hmm.
place. If someone wants to have a particular work lifestyle, but their health is not good, then yeah, obviously it's gonna be
Hmm.
easier if you're healthy. And yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. There are gonna be other things that and that's another reason
Hmm.
why it's important that when we're looking at what we want in our lives and our goals and whatever, we look at ourselves. Don't compare yourself to other
Hmm.
people. That may be another reason that people struggle with goals and visions and whatever they want, because I know I struggle with it. I'm too busy comparing to how everyone else I think
Hmm.
has it and I don't, and they're better than me and they're
Yeah.
getting it faster than me.
Hmm.
You've got to understand your life experiences born out of your experiences that are absolutely unique to you and your consciousness and your soul and how you see the world. So you can't compare it. You know, like you say, what if there's two people wanting to go to Spain? One has loads of money behind them and the other one doesn't. Obviously, one's going to do it more quickly, find it more easy than
Yeah.
the other one. So if you're sitting there comparing yourself, oh, he went to Spain and I didn't go, I'm just, and then you get down and then you don't continue on your desire to do
Hmm.
that, you don't follow through, you don't take action, then you don't achieve your goal because you're not distracted by looking over there at what someone else is doing when really that has nothing to do with you. You have to come to
Hmm.
yourself and say, what's my situation? What's my current reality? What resources do I have? What can I do with those? What do I want? What are my beliefs? I think it's a very, very individual thing as well. Like obviously we can learn from people and whatever, but I think
Mhm.
when you're looking at your own achievements and what you want and setting your visions and goals, you really got to put all of that away. You got to stop looking out there. Don't look at anybody else or what anyone is doing. You got to come back home and do some introspective work and see, where am I at? What do I want? And then where am I currently, and what's my obvious action to doing the next thing? So yeah, I think that's another thing to think about. We have a few
Mhm.
minutes, so that's gone
Mhm.
very quickly as usual.
Yeah.
Are there any more things on your list that you wanted to cover about why 80% of people will fail their resolutions?
I mean, there was a few things. One big thing was not being able to handle stress while handling it in a very dysfunctional way.
Mm,
You that you
we're
have
just
to stop,
losing you a little bit.
and
Oh,
like, what happened?
your Wi-Fi was going a bit, and so you went choppy, so we didn't hear you. But I
Am I
think it
back?
will probably fix itself. That seems to be the way. Keep going.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you're getting better. Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was saying, not being able to handle stress is one big thing that people quit or leave. It's just not understanding what stress is, why it's there, and
Mm.
what they make it mean, and why do they make it mean so much that they have to quit, and also how to
Mm,
overcome, like, most people, most of the average person, I would say, they don't know how to overcome stress.
yeah. Can I touch on that a little? Is because what it makes me think
Hmm.
about is comes back to what we're saying, everyone's on their own individual journey. So, having grown up in an environment that was constantly full of stress, anxiety, lack of safety, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, my nervous system and my human vehicle has been very much programmed to be like this all the time. So I find pain very difficult. I find stress very difficult. And some, because I'm reflecting sometimes, I'm like, why is it not always so easy for me to create what I want, to achieve certain goals? And part of it is because I really feel pain very acutely. Some of us are very sensitive as well, like more sensitive to certain pains than others. So again, that's why you got to look at yourself and say, well, what's going on for me? Because we've all got our own thing going on here, right? And if you're struggling to handle it, that's where your work may be, right? Is how do I learn how to handle
Hmm.
this in a better way so that I can continue going towards what I want and not let the past drag me back into what I don't
Hmm.
want. Yeah, sorry, carry on what you're saying. We got a little
So pretty
comment from
much
Jim as
that.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's a good time for this comment. Holding the focus of the goal may also bring in the resources needed. Yeah, that's what
Yes.
happened to me in Spain. It's like, just focus on the end result, held it
Yeah.
there till I found the right person to help me, till I found the right people to come in to translate things for me, to find the right lawyer, to friends who were there when I needed them, and it just all worked out at the end.
Yeah.
You know, I got
Yeah.
what I needed.
I think as well, then that makes me think about another reason why we might struggle to achieve our goals is because we're not focused. And partly it's because there's so many distractions, particularly in this modern world. Your phone is pinging every 5 minutes. You've got a thousand people on social media all showing you there's constant things to look at on there. There's your inner thoughts. There's all these people. There's a million distractions now. We live in such a complex world. And I think a key part of being able to achieve something is your ability, again, to tune all of that out and strip it down to the essential and remain focused, as Jim says, on what you actually want. Because the time and energy, that's your greatest resource, right? Is your time and your energy, really. That's how we do things in the world, with our energy. We create with our energy, and that's your greatest resource, and all of us are just leaking it in nonsense, talking about things that don't matter, that we can't influence or control, scrolling through social media for hours on end, watching nonsense that doesn't even help us in our lives, little bickering and dramas here and there and blah, 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 blah. It's taking all our energy away and putting it into these things. And so I think a key part, and then obviously the goal over here that you really want isn't getting the energy. So it's not going to grow. It's not going to manifest. You're not going to attract those resources because you're not giving it the energy. So I think that's another thing to think about. If you want to achieve something, you got to be willing to focus. You got to learn how to focus. I say that and I'm like, I still really struggle with that. I get very distracted. One of my key focuses this year actually is to focus. One of my choices that I set in November was to look at creative structures that hone, that's literally the words in my choice, hone my focus on what I truly love, because I'm so easily distracted. And some of us, we're very creative. We have all these ideas and all these things and another project, another collaboration. And it just means that what I truly want is not manifesting because I'm not focused on it and I'm getting scattered. So I think, again, the ability to hold our attention and our focus on a few things that we really want to focus on and create and cut out all that noise, I think is a great skill. And I think it's probably very in short supply, because just the nature of the world we live in is grabbing our attention left, right, and center to everything else out there. So again, I think that's why many people don't have the lives they'd want and create the life they'd love, because they're dragged out there like a little pebble in the ocean by all of the world telling you, look at this, read this news, worry about that, blah, blah, blah. And you don't realize that it's sucking your focus. And it's just the few people, I think, who are able to say, nope, not interested, only focusing on this as best they can and following through, that then end up creating something and manifesting in their lives. But that, again, that takes work. That's a skill that needs to be cultivated, right?
Yeah. So I would say, to sort of close what we're talking about today and to refresh and reframe, what would you say is the protocol? What would you advise someone if they come to you and say, hey, I want to set some, New Year resolutions and New Year goals? What do you tell them?
The approach I would take would be to, as I said earlier, shut off everything outside. And if you really want to do this, go inside and take some time to actually reflect on who you are and what you truly want and what you truly love. Because chances are most people who would come to me are doing it in the way that we know everyone does it. Oh, I should save more money. Oh, I should start the gym. I want to do this. Most people will be doing it from that place. So we've got to reorient them first. So for me, it would be blank slate, dream. For me, I don't even use the word goals. I know we use the word goals here because that's the word, right? But I don't use that word anymore because of the work we've done, and you realize the power of how you can live and what you want to create. It's not about timing and what you want and when and blah, 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 blah. It would be blank slate. Imagine you had a blank piece of paper and then dare to dream. For me, it's about daring to dream. If you could have the things that you love, what would that look like? And doing that kind of approach to it. So that would be the first part of it. And really it would be the work actually that we do, which is what I do with, and I've done it with people who haven't done the work, but they just attune with it and they know what we're doing. They just flow into it, where we do the blank slate and we dream and we get the richness of what they truly love. And from there, then choose, what do you actually want to create? What do you actually want to focus on? But yeah, I think the first protocol is you gotta stop fixing yourself. You gotta stop coming from that place of incompleteness. You gotta stop looking outside. Your answers will never be out there. So it's all about doing it from the inside out, living from the inside out. Inspiration, and that would be my main thing. That's the initial kickoff, right? In terms of actually setting them. protocol for manifesting, well, we know that that's a whole nother thing, right? Of learning how to
Mhm.
deal with that pain, deal with that stress, know when you're going off track. That's an ongoing journey of life, and being supported and coached to help go through that. So that's not something I think I'm able to explain in like a 1 or 2 step thing. But it is that
Mhm.
it's dealing with the pain,
Yeah.
learning how to deal with the pain and not letting it stop you. That's really the only next step, really. You just keep going.
Mhm.
You hear about all the people who've achieved wonderful things. They're like, I just didn't stop. And you often hear
Mhm.
about it with successful people as well. They say the difference between those of us who get our goals and those who don't is that we just didn't give up. There's so much talent out there. There's so much capability out there. There's so much heart out there, creativity. Everybody has so much that they could create, have, achieve in their lives. But as you said earlier, they're not willing to go through hell to get there.
Mhm.
There's that line, I'll close with this. Um, uh, Everybody wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die.
Mhm.
Right? You want to go
Yeah.
to heaven and have all, but you don't want to die. You gotta be
Mhm.
willing. You gotta be willing to go through that. Yeah. That's my what's your answer to that question?
Um, pretty much the same, but I would rephrase it or phrase it differently. For me, which is you got to find something that you actually care about, and where that comes from is sort of neutralizing all of these aches and pains and sort of you know uh, desperations that you have that you need to extract from life. And so you
Mhm.
imagine that you already have all the money, have all the fame that you need, or all of these things, and then start asking yourself, if I had everything I ever needed or wanted, what would I do next? What would I build?
Mm.
And that's where you start extracting the things from within, which is like, okay, these might be the things that I care about. The next thing I would say is, you know, either through a modality or a person or a system that you've developed yourself, find a way to refocus when it comes to pain. Find a way to get out of pain. Find a way to, you know, acknowledge what it is without destroying it. Just realize, okay, you're losing focus, and go back to your dream, go back to what you care about. So having a process, having a modality, having a person, someone or something that you can go to get back on track. I
Yeah.
think those are the two biggest things that I would say um,
Yeah.
help a lot.
Yeah. I love that way of phrasing the question. If you had everything you wanted, what would you do? You made
Hmm.
me think of one more way of phrasing it that people might resonate with, which I heard from
Hmm.
Robert Fritz. And he said, if you didn't have to do anything, what would you choose to do? So
Hmm.
imagine there was no rules of anything. You could just sit on a beach for the rest of your life. You could just be a bum for the rest of your life. If you didn't have to do anything at all, what would you choose to do? So that might be
Mm.
another way to help people let go of all that stuff
Yeah.
and actually really get in tune with what they truly want and what they truly care about. Mm, love it.
Yeah.
Are we done?
Awesome. I
We're
think
done,
so.
I think. Yeah, we've done an
Hmm.
hour. That's good for us, isn't it? We stuck to
Yeah.
our timing. A
Yeah.
little bit of a glitch at the start, but we got through it because we held our focus. We didn't stop at the pain.
Hmm.
So those of you who weren't here at the start, the live stream
Yeah.
didn't work. So we had to go out, get back in. Rah, rah, rah. Again, it was pain, but we want to create this. So we went through it. We didn't just go, oh, let's just not do it today. It's too painful. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's part of life, right? Love it. Hey, and all of the wonderful comments. Arta, thank you so much. Jim, thank you so much. Always great insights as well, right?
Hmm.
Great questions as well. Those I love the questions. Like questions are so
Yeah.
so good. And thank you for sharing your experiences, and thank you for watching. And if you watch this later, please do put any questions in the comments as well. And yeah, we shall close. Thank you so much. Any other words, Arush, before we close?
No, I would say make some good goals for the coming year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Love it. Thank you. Bye.